Hi folks. So the past few days I've been on a few Skype calls and catching up with a few friends from Games Workshop and other hobby stores. And I've been gauging opinions on certain customers that we've been going over through the years. A lot of these customers that I want to bring up right now are not customers I wanted to bring up, not because it's controversial in any way really. It's more that these aren't really topics I want to touch on the channel. But speaking to a few friends, they've all said, look, we'd like to see that. And if I've messaged you on the Discord and to get your opinion, then thank you very much for giving your opinion, and you're the reason why I'm going ahead with this video. So top notch. But have I got some controversial shit for you today? And this is about banning customers, right? When people have been asked not to return to a store. Only one of these stories happened in Games Workshop, and I'm not going to say which one it is for the sake of people's privacy. And the others happened in a hobby store that I used to work in, near where I live. If I ever see any of you in real life, I would like to take you to my old hobby store. It's still there now today. It's still doing quite well, and I would like to show you around the place. But it's really, really cool. Anyway, they don't do games anymore, which is why I don't really go in there, because they don't really have the space. But anyway, so these are the customers that I have seen banned, or I have banned over the years working in hobby stores. So, I've got about 6 years experience, I'd say, working in hobby stores, maybe more. Few of those working, well, about 3 of those working in Games Workshop, just over, I think. Just over, yeah. So I've seen a few people come and go. I've done all of the really bad ones, talking about, I think we did Dave back in the day, and things like that, which are like criminals. But these 4 are bad, but not, let's say, you're not going to call the police on them bad, So the first one, it was happening, these 2 actually were happening over a summer, one after the other. This guy is a guy called Steve. And Steve used to come into the hobby store with, he was a huge Tau player, and that's fantastic. We weren't really seeing much of Tau at the time. I think this was at the height of 8th, and people were getting sort of pissed off with Tau towards the more like, no, tell a lie, 7th. Yeah, so 7th, it was 2015, so 7th. So Steve is basically coming in with his models, and he's wanting to, run a few games. That's great, fine. And people were generally staying away from Tau at this point, because Tau were very, very, very powerful, and nobody really wanted to play them. But he ended up getting like a dedicated following, because he was a really, really nice guy. Genuinely top-notch, never said boo to a goose, really lovely bloke. Very good at helping people out to work out their rules, because obviously he'd been a I'm going to say modeler, he's been a hobbyist for quite a long time. And he's also an artist, which I didn't know, because his models are really well painted. And if you didn't know, obviously, if you've seen Tau models, they have a lot of very flat surfaces. So if you are a really good painter, you can really get your teeth into that and make it something really, really really cool to look at. So Steve would do that, and his Tau would look incredibly good. And he would also work on comic books. So this guy, he actually made graphic novels. And they weren't graphic novels that weren't being sold. This guy was actually earning a living, drawing graphic novels. And he was very, very good at it. So, one day, he says to a few people around the store, hey, Ian, do you mind if I show you some of my artwork and see what you think of it? And they're like, yeah, cool, that's fine, And he gets out his portfolio and he turns a few pages. And I walk away, just stocking a few shelves, doing whatever. And I hear like giggling over my shoulder. I'm like, what's going on over there? So I peek over their shoulder, and what I can only describe as Tau hentai, like big titty Tau women being molested by tentacles, essentially. So, I said, obviously, can we not show that in the store, please? Is there anything else in there that you would like to show that isn't like, this? And he said, "Oh yeah." And he flicked and flicked and flicked and flicked and flicked and flicked, and it's just hentai, all the way through his little portfolio. Finally, gets to one, which is about Commander Farsight. It's pretty cool. Fine. All right. Yeah, he's shooting somebody. Yeah, cool. And as a joke, he flips it over again, and it switched. So Farsight's in the same thing, but his gun has turned into a giant phallus and is now shooting a female Eldar. And I'm just. I said, look, Steve, can you put that away, please, mate? Look, it isn't the place for it, okay? Blah blah blah. Gave him a talking to, and that was it. End of story. Fine, whatever. Kept my eye on him from now on and in because I thought, bit of a weirdo. Because I'm sorry, yeah, if you draw that shit and you want to show it to other people, bit of a weirdo. Unless you're getting paid for it, somebody's paying you. A lot of good writers in manga actually start out drawing hentai because you get paid for it. So that's fine. But like walking into a store and doing it is something else, and doing it in your own time, something else entirely. Anyway, I caught him doing this another 2 times where he would so good at doing art that he could literally take a bit of paper and just draw it. And just draw literally a hentai scene like that. Just literally just do it. 10 minutes, it's done. Not coloured in, shaded though. And it's done. And it was just amazing how we could do it. And I was so impressed that he had these skills. But he kept giving these to other people and signing them as like little things, and they were full on, rude stuff. And whilst this wasn't a corporate store, so to speak, I still couldn't have that walking around, people going, hey, look what this Steve did, and whilst, I'm trying to run a store. So in the end, unfortunately, I had to take Steve aside and say, look, mate, if I catch you doing that again, I will have to ask you to leave, and I won't be asking you to come back as well. Like, this is it now. And lo and behold, he did do it again a couple of weeks later, which to me speaks of a sort of mental issue, because I couldn't have been more clear. I literally couldn't have been more clear. Every single time it happened, I was getting pissed off with it, and he was flagrantly disregarding the rules. And so in the end, I just said, look, I've given you warning after warning. I'm going to have to ask you to leave, mate. That's it, that's it. And I'm going to have to be honest, like, Steve's face, like, he looked pretty heartbroken, and I felt really, really, really bad. But I'm not losing my job because you're into freaky shit. Like, I'm just not, this is not happening, I said, look, you've got a circle of friends. Why didn't you just do that with them there? Why you have to do it here, Anyway, off he goes, and we don't see Steve again. And about 6 months after that, I got a work at Games Workshop, so I didn't really, wasn't really that bothered about it. So, Malcolm. Yeah, so when I said before that I wasn't going to name stores, that's because one of these stories is from Games Workshop, and I don't want you to, like, pinpoint who that is. But anyway, Malcolm. So this is also over a summer. And this is a guy who is, shall we say, a very large bloke, a very large man who's coming in, he's doing stuff about the hobby. Really, really cool. Eldar player, he told me a really funny story about how when he was in New York, in the late 80s, and there was a hobby store there, and he met Robin Williams in a hobby store, and that's what got him into Eldar, because Robin Williams was into like really old school Eldar, essentially, which is pretty cool as a story. I thought that's pretty cool. Could be complete lies, but I tend to take people at face value, until he proved that they can't be trusted, then I don't. But anyway, so he's a really nice bloke, and he's walking around the store, and he's been in the store for, let's say, about as long as I've been there, like a couple of months, just doing his own thing. And he's having loads of fun, generally talking to people. And he makes comments about people's sandals. Just weird, right? Because we're in summer. So he's like, oh, yeah, sandals, And he went, oh, Exile. Not that was my name, that's my name, but, he said, oh, Exile, why didn't you let blokes wear sandals, but you're not that bothered about women wearing sandals? And you know what? He had a point. I just said, blokes wearing sandals, a lot of you guys wash sometimes, but most of the women who come in here are generally women from the street, and I don't want normal mums coming in their sandals and being turned away because they've got sandals on, you know what I mean? But blokes who don't wash, I'm sorry, yes, this isn't even, but you did that to yourselves, so, you get what you give, essentially. Put some socks on, put some shoes on, and come to the store. But anyway, he'd make comments like that, like, why didn't you let everyone not wear sandals, blah, blah, blah. And he'd keep pushing this, and in the end I had to say to him, I gave him that reason, said, look, because not all the blokes here are, that clean. Most of the women who come in are. And he goes, yeah, yeah, yeah. He goes, what's your favourite one who comes in here? I went, what do you mean? So what's your favourite woman who comes in here wearing, wearing the sandals? I was like, I don't really have one. Like, just, there are a few fitties, obviously. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a few nice ones, but like, I don't know. I never noticed them wearing sandals. I just noticed them that they're hot, So yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure you can see where this is going. So, this guy also, somebody else would come into the store and they had a really nicely painted model that Malcolm liked to touch a lot. So this model was, did I say the model? Yeah, it's a L'Oreal. It's a L'Oreal, right? And he liked touching this model quite a bit, right? He liked just like, oh, this is really cool. And every time this lady, brought a L'Oreal into the store, he would pick it up and be like, oh, this is brilliant, this. And, and he'd always rub, like, he did it with Ivrain as well. He'd always rub, like, the heel of the foot of the model and give it back to her. It's weird. I just got a weird fucking vibe. So I was like, look. In the end, I was like, look, man, I didn't ban this guy, but I was like, man, the look you get when you're doing shit like that is pretty off-putting. And I've had a few, this lady has asked me not to let you touch her models anymore. Can you not do that? Okay, yeah, fair enough. And he was like, yeah, it's fine. And he never came back. So I didn't ban him, but I just that one conversation, I never saw him again. And that was the end of Malcolm in the store. So, moving on to one of the two controversial ones, a lady called Karen. Not a Karen for the reason you were thinking. So in the hobby place I used to work in, hobby store I used to work in, we had an upstairs area that was for gaming, right? It's like a loft, sort of an area. And we had a girl called Karen in there, and she was an unashamedly polyamorous woman. And she was in a relationship with a few people outside of the store. I ended up finding out that she was in a relationship with at least 3 people at the same time at the store that I was working in. Now, I need to say, if you have an image of a Scarlett Johansson lookalike in your head, I'm going to say most women in polyamorous relationships do not look like that. And this one, yeah, how do I put this? She smelled not great, and she looked not great, but she thought she was the hottest thing on planet Earth because she had all these nerds eating out of her hand, essentially. There's a thing that I really hate to see, and that's scraping the bottom of the barrel. Kings, know your worth. Even if you're standing in Games Workshop or a hobby store or wherever, right? Go and get yourself a shower. Get yourself a shave, put some nice stuff on and go to the hobby store. Know your own worth, man. And if one of these polyamorous females and you're not into it comes up to you and is like giving you lots of attention, tell her where to go. You're rolling dice. You got important things to do. Do you know what I mean? Get your priorities straight. And just fuck them off, is what I'm saying. Look, just I hate it when I see when you're working in geeky situations, you see this a lot. I even saw this in bars. I used to work in gaming bars, and you'd see it. These women, these polyamorous people who are, and that's not a bad thing in itself, but like a lot of them, honest to God, like I'm looking at them going, yeah, you're doing this because if you went to a normal bar, no one would look at you twice. In fact, people would just walk away from you, and and there's only one person who can deal with that, and that's you, right? I'm sorry, just being harsh here. Jump in the shower, look after yourself, and you'll get a lot more attention from people who aren't desperate and broken. Because what you're doing is you're doing the OnlyFans thing. You're taking advantage of these people who have a very low self-esteem in themselves and don't think they can get a woman, right? And I don't like that kind of behaviour. I think it's predatory, and I don't like it, right? So I was already had my back up above this woman, and I was looking at her quite a lot, thinking, okay, this is going to turn into a shit show here, because these guys are not used to women giving them attention, and if you're a geeky and you're not used to women giving you attention, that can lead to you acting out, because we all have to act out as men back in the day, when you're 17, 18. When I was a kid, I was so jealous of everything all the time. You know, I had such self-esteem problems. And then I got over that, obviously, as you grow older. By my early 20s, you know, I was generally quite chilled and couldn't give a fuck, really, you know. But back then, you know, that was my big flaw. Was I was always quite controlling as a kid. And I was, you know, I treated it like my property, and it's such an uncool thing to do when you're like 17, 18. But you learn. And that's how you learn. You learn that's not the thing to do. These guys are in their mid-20s and they've not had girlfriends before. These guys are people who've been around their friends their entire adult lives. They've not really had an opportunity to hone these skills. And so when a woman like Karen comes in, she tends to blow them out of the water with her low-cut tops, even though they're only that big because she's so fat. I'm sorry, it just is what it is, right? They're just... Sorry. Just, you know. Anyway, she was dating two guys called Dave and Paul. They were coming to the store for quite a few years, and these two guys were really, really good friends. In fact, they were friends from high school, and they both got into the hobby together, apparently, back in the day, when one of them was started with Eldar, and the other one started with Space Wolves. And they ended up just having lots of really cool battles, which is really cool. And I liked that, because it sort of went with my own hobby story when I was growing up, and how I got into the hobby. Anyway, so, these two really good friends, and they both end up dating Karen. And they both end up going along with it because men are stupid. You know, if you've never had a woman before and a woman says, "I'll be with you, but I want to be with your friend as well," and you're desperate and you're lonely, you go, "All right then," because you don't know your own worth, dude. You're amazing. You're such a cool guy, and just don't put up with that shit. You know what I mean? Unless you're really into it. If you've got a stable head on your shoulders and you've been with people and you've worked out what you like and what you don't, and you like being in a polyamorous relationship, fill your boots, mate. You do what you want to do. But for your first woman, your first relationship, God no, man. Come on. You know your worth. Know your worth. You know, go to one of the hobby heroes and they'll set you straight, mate. Because every single store I've been in has had a hobby hero in it. A nicely dressed, handsome as fuck, you know, absolute bro. There's been at least one or two. For one of them, that was a really weird sound. Don't clip it. Fuck you. One of them, One Last Blade. Look at him on YouTube, right? That's exactly the kind of bloke that you want to... There's one in every hobby club, right? Look at him and go, "Hey man, I need a bit of advice." You know, talk to him for a little bit and say, "Look, I need a bit of advice. How do you dress? You know, where do you get your clothes? Where do you go to the gym? You know, what kind of product do we need to use? This and that and that." And they will take you aside and they'll coach you, man. They will take you through it and they'll say, "Look, this is what you do." Because some of us are from broken homes and we never had dads showing us this stuff, right? So anyway, Karen is woefully manipulating these two blokes, right? And she's getting off in the attention. She's loving it. And I can start to see, because both Dave and Paul are tryhards in when the way they play the game, and they're very competitive. And I can start to see a bit of a rift, a bit of an edge to their comments towards each other, and they stop coming to the store with each other. They start arriving separately, and not really playing with each other. Eventually, one week, she challenges Dave and Paul to have a match because they've not played for like a month or so, because she's tired of the situation. She's tired of the situation. So the winner gets Karen. And you can tell how this is going to go, right? I can't even remember who won the game because it descended in the third or fourth turn into constant bickering, shouting, pointing, nearly fisticuffs, and I can see the smile on her face. I go over to that hobby table. I say, "You two, go over there and talk this out. And if there's anything, if I hear one swear word or one punch getting thrown, you're both gone. You," to Karen, "you're banned. Fuck off." It's probably the only time I've ever lost it with somebody in a hobby store. "You're gone. See ya. Ta-ra. Bye." And that was it, right? Like, she was gone. She was crying, obviously, because the waterworks come now. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, been a conniving little bitch for, like, you know, months on end. But no, obviously now here come the waterworks. Off you go. No, get out. Right? Because she was doing it to other people as well. And I wasn't having it. I was like, no. That was manipulative. It was wrong. You knew what was going to happen. And you're getting off in it. Get out. So, in the end, I go over to Dave and Paul. And I wanted to give you that little talk that I did before, because this is the talk I gave them. I literally just went, "Look, here we go. Here is how life fucking works, alright? Do not call or text her. If I find out you have, you're also banned. I don't want you here. Because I don't need that here. Right? Like, I know the type, mate. I know the type. This isn't the place for it. If you want to stop coming here and go off with her, that's your thing. You two are like brothers, and so that's how you. If you put it this way, if you don't turn up together from now on, I'm this close to not letting the other one in. Because you two are best friends, and you're so cool to have around. So like, this is how it's going to go from now on. Anyway, we got over the situation. They were fine. But I just wanted to pinpoint that, because it does happen in the hobby. And it's pretty bullshit. You know, and before anyone gets on the high horse, yes, I'm fully aware that the hobby has some fucking doofus blokes in it. Yes, I know. Because, as I said before, men are idiots, right? And we tend to do stupid things. But openly manipulative behaviour, I just can't go along with. And it's just something that, you know, it just had to happen. Anyway, that guy's called Drek. And this actually happened. Was it a tournament? No. Yeah, it was a kill team tournament. So this happened in a kill team tournament. Right, okay. So, Drek, I actually got on okay with Drek because he was a Shadowrun player, who, hence him taking the name Drek, which I thought was pretty cool. And, you know, he never really got into politics with me. He'd always, like, kind of leave it to, you know, he'd never really said anything. But he would start coming into the store and to events wearing more and more political T-shirts. And we had like Marx, Lenin, Mao, people like that on them. And I'd say to him, look, man, you know, not appropriate, you know. And I would get the treatment of, well, you know, why'd you let people come in here with Nazi stuff on? It's like, well, I don't. I don't. That over there is a Black Templar logo on a T-shirt. That's not, you know, things like that. I would start hearing him quote Marx and quote Mao and quote people like that to other players. I would start hearing him say that he was one of the admins on the Sigh Marxism Reddit, right? Nothing against the guys on there, perfectly fine, but if you start a conversation with, you know, one of my main jobs online is I'm a paid mod for Sigh Marxism. By the way, I'm pretty sure they don't pay their mods, but that just, you know, when you start a conversation like that, it starts like get my hackles up and go, hang on, you know. And as I said before, I generally don't appreciate things like this in a hobby store. So this is a kill team event and a neutral venue, right? So it's kind of official too, but it's got, you know, bit of both from there, bit of GW, bit of everything. And so I was one of the, not the runners of the event, but I was one of the admins there, who was generally taking care of things, making sure people were okay. They had refreshments, you know, any rules that need to be going over, I'd go over them. And I genuinely couldn't get over the change in Drek. I'd not seen him over a summer, mainly because I was at university at the time. But when I got back, so I'm not seeing him over, like, you know, the summer term. But when I got back for Christmas and we were doing this event, it just seemed like he had really gone off the deep end in a little bit, and he was really railing against anti-SJWs and all sorts of things like that, which is fine in your own time. Look, you can have whatever political opinion you want. I just don't want it at the tournament I'm at, you know. And I'm sure other people were looking at it over the shoulder, going, "Oh, what the fuck? I don't want to play that guy." Jesus. Got to the point where Drek was an Imperial Guard player, and he would paint. He painted his Imperial Guards as Cuban revolutionaries, because of course he did. And, you know, he was against another Imperial Guard player, and he kept dissing this other Imperial Guard player because he was a Cadian, just a normal Cadian. And in the end, this Imperial Guard player called me over and said, "Look, I'm done here. I'm done. I'm going to forfeit this game." Bear in mind, he was in the top 3 at this point. I'm going to forfeit this game, and I don't want to play this game. You know. And I was expecting, because I knew Drek was a decent guy, you know, from like only 6 months ago. And I looked over to Drek, and he has this smug grin on his face, and he goes, "Well, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen." And that's when okay, right, that's fine. You can, you know, you can leave. It's fine. You can walk away. And I said to him, look, Drek, that wasn't cool. Like, you need to stop. Well, stop doing what? Well, you need to stop, one, spreading political ideologies around the tournament. That's not the place for it. You know? Just shrugging. And number two, you stop being rude to people. And that's the main one, really. Stop being rude to people, you know? That's your last warning. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's your last warning. His next opponent... No, he had one more opponent after that as an Eldar player, but his next opponent was also an Imperial God player called Pete. And I still know Pete quite well. He's in the Discord. Really nice guy. And Pete comes in wearing a Brother Alpha Booster t-shirt with a Custodes on it. And if you know what the Custodes are like on text-to-speech device, they're very flamboyant and, they're like male strippers. And I get called over to a problem at table 9. And this is the table that, obviously, Drek has been playing on. Drek was supposed to go on different tables, but the organisers of this event were so spot on that as soon as they knew that he was going to be a problem, they kept him on the same table, and they would just say Code 9. Go over, Code 9. Go over. We'd all been over there at different points that day. So I went over to Drek's table, and Drek said, I'm not playing this person. He's a disgrace. I'm not playing this person. I was like, why? His t-shirt that he's wearing is offensive to gay people. Like it's disgusting. I can't believe you allow that here. And I looked at this t-shirt, and I explained what it was, and he goes, I know what it is. It's disgusting. And I said, okay. And I knew I had the trump card in my back pocket. But I went to a few organisers and said, look, can you bring this person, this person, this person to this table, please? And I briefed them and said, look, I don't want you to think I'm singling you out, but I am, basically. But I need you to tell me if this t-shirt's offensive. Okay. So they walk over and they say, is this t-shirt offensive? No. Okay. Are you gay? Yes. Are you gay? Yes. Are you gay? Yes. Right. Okay, thank you guys. Have a nice game. So I just turned to Drek and said, right, okay, and just to solve this issue right now, Pete, are you homosexual? And Pete says, yeah. And this is happening as Drek is packing away his models. And I say, look, Drek, it's fine. We're gonna have to forfeit your game, and you'll come like 6th or something. He was on a course to win it at that point because he'd won like 4 games. One of them was by forfeit, obviously. But anyway, he left. So it wasn't really a banning, but it was like a off you go sort of a thing. And like he left, and the whole atmosphere of the room completely changed and went back to being a normal nice event, basically. But those are 4 people in hobby stores that I've had to quote unquote ban or escort out the premises. What do you guys think? Have you guys had any sort of horror stories like that in your types of hobby stores or places like that? I'm flabbergasted by the sheer amount that people seem to have. But those are the ones that I have, and those are the worst ones I have anyway. What do you guys think? Do you guys have anything that you want to share with me? If you do, put them in the comments below. If not, I love you a long time, and I can't wait to talk to you all again on Discord. See you later. Have a good one.